Vamos. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for sitting down with us, Nishith, and coming to Madrid to be in our conference here. So we'll sort of just jump in on your paper about criminally accused politicians and electoral competition, and you could just tell us maybe about what your favorite finding is from this research.
Thanks for having me here. It's been great. I think I love the one-day session, like all packed. So this is definitely one of my favorite projects, and we do find pretty large impact, as I was speaking in the session. But to me, the most interesting finding has been when these effects show up. I didn't have a very strong prior, because when you elect a politician who is criminally accused, do we anticipate these effects to show up the next year, or in 2 years, or in the fourth or the fifth year? I didn't have any strong prior, and I don't think there's any theory that kind of predicts when we should anticipate these negative impact. So to me, that was pretty interesting to find that these effects actually start showing up later on in the electoral cycle. So that's maybe my favorite result in this paper.
Great. So we'll move on to the next question here, which is somehow related, which is sort of how or to what extent can the improvement of law and order, or I guess the rule of law, help growth in developing countries, and how does that relate to your research in Bihar?
So this is a question that we are currently exploring, especially in Bihar. What happened was in 2005 there was a regime change, and what we noticed, if you start plotting these different crime outcomes, you see a kind of like a pretty nice decline in, say, crime like kidnapping for ransom, murder. So we got really interested, like what are the drivers of these outcomes, and what kind of policies are good at improving these outcomes, because there seems to be a pretty well-established literature which talks about law and order and growth. That seems to be very well established. So what's not very well established, what are these drivers? What are these policies that you could enact in a state like Bihar, or in other developing countries that are facing similar challenges? So that's the part we are trying to explore right now in this. I don't know if you're talking about that particular project, but this is a joint work with my co-authors Clément Imbert, who is at Warwick, Oliver, who is at Paris School, and Chinmay, who is at IGC. And the idea is to kind of backtrack and back engineer these different policy changes that led to decline in crime, and how that relates to growth. And this broadly connects to this the set of questions I'm interested in, that the interaction of bureaucrats and politicians, and how they together, because to me these are like two really, really important agents of change, especially in developing countries like India, where they are extremely important, and they control a lot of resources. They have a lot of financial, legislative and executive powers to make an impact, and to understand how these two different agents of change interact with each other, and how they impact our, like, most economists' most favorite outcome, like economic growth. So this is very much a work in progress, where hopefully in a few years we'll have some answer, like how Bihar's law and order, or improvement in law and order, had any impact on measures of well-being, including economic growth.
Thank you. Very good. So transition to our last question. So you've carried out research on female education and empowerment, and if you could just tell us sort of some of the work you've done there and what you've learned from it. Yeah.
Yes, I have been very interested in education since my graduate school days, and I got an opportunity to kind of delve more deeper into policies that improves gender equality, or reduces gender inequality in education. And we did this project in Bihar with my co-author Karthik Muralidharan, who is at UCSD. And the project was, there was an intervention which provided kind of bicycles to girls to go to school, how that impacted enrollment and learning outcomes. And we find pretty large impact. we find that providing bicycles to girls improves enrollment by 34% and reduces gender gap in enrollment by 40%. So, and there has been kind of a much more deeper question in education, that does education also lead to women empowerment? And we couldn't answer that in that paper. We had these nice ideas that we believe that providing a bicycle to girl, it's kind of like an important asset. It affects bargaining at the household level, and it might affect their empowerment. They are more empowered, maybe they are better at these decisions, or maybe parents value them more. So thankfully, what we are doing right now is we are following up that project, because that project didn't quite answer the long run outcomes on empowerment, fertility, marriage in Zambia. So we are doing a kind of like a similar project, but it's actually a randomized control trial in Zambia, where we will be answering whether giving bicycles to girls improves their attendance and learning outcomes, but actually follow them over next 4 or 5 years to answer this question about empowerment, that does this also lead to increased empowerment, or it led to increased bargaining power at the household level, or reduced pregnancy or reduced fertility. So I think there has been at least few papers that has talked about the link of education to empowerment, but what are those channels or that leads to this change has less been explored. So I think one of the objective here is we don't quite, I mean, frankly, if you ask me, I don't understand how to measure empowerment. I have no idea. So we do try in this paper to come up with a way to measure empowerment that might be slightly different than what others have done in the literature, and try to measure it in various ways. And measuring empowerment is very context specific. So if you ask me to measure empowerment in India, it might mean something else. If you ask in Zambia, it's something else. So we are trying to kind of explore this link from education to empowerment, and like I'm deeply interested in both education and political economy.
Excellent. I guess we can stop answering that question. Those are the three we had. Yeah.
Thank you.